Hello, my friend. This is Clyde. Let us have a talk. Let's go for a walk, me and you. Just stop what you're doing for a brief moment and let us go outside for a walk. Down the street and back, maybe, or you have a few minutes when you can get away from the domestics that you have to do. I promise you, I won't take up too much of your time, but I just want us to have this little talk. I have been hearing this text in my mind a lot these days. I simply have not been able to get away from it, and I thought I would let you in on what it has done for me and to me. It's actually one line of a Bible verse. So let me quote the verse and then we focus on the one line. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Isaiah 54 and verse 17. Let us zero in on the first line, because that is the one line that has been on top of me for days. What does this really mean? I have heard this line long before I knew where in the Bible it came from. I have heard godly people rattle it off. I have heard people use it in prayers. I confess that I have recited it hundreds of times, but I found myself dissecting it in a fresh way. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. You and I are living in a situation where we're both humans and spiritual beings at the same time. We serve a great, big, wonderful God who loves us, who watches over us, who is with us all the time. We know that and we celebrate that. But in the real world that we live in, sometimes stuff happens to us. Bad things, misfortunes, tragedy, you name it, and we step back and we feel defeated. We feel beaten up and battered. Some days we try our best. We pray, we sing worship songs, and then something horrible comes our way or we run into trouble. There, in our troubling situation, we hear the voice of God saying to us, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. How am I to process that when I've just gone through a bitter divorce? How am I to process that when I walked into the office one day and my boss told me that they had to lay me off? How do I process that when I have $50 in my hand and bills that are $500? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Right. That's just what I want to hear at this time. I want to ask, why me? Why me, Lord? This line is not a hyperbole. It is not something to make you feel good. It is 100% truth. God is saying to me and you that there is nothing, no thing, not one single thing that Satan can devise, release, or send your way to harm you that will succeed. First of all, let us look at the God who says that. What does the verse before the one we're looking at says? See, it is I who created the blacksmith who fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. Isaiah 54 and verse 16. And the next line, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The God who tells you that familiar line says to you, He knows you have an enemy, a crafty enemy, an active enemy who makes it his business to plot, design, make weapons with purpose, weapons that are intended to harm, weapons of losing your job without notice, weapons of losing your house in a fire, weapon of you being attacked by a robber, weapon of temptation, and I mean a big overpowering temptation. Every negative situation constitutes a weapon, and God is saying to you and me, before you throw up your hand in despair and think that I, God, have abandoned you or Satan has outsmarted me, you need to know that I made him, the evil one who formed the weapon. Have you ever stopped to think about that? While you are focused on the one line and you're matching it against the things that you are struggling with, you and I need to remember, my friend, God made him, which means that while the devil is busy forming the weapons to attack you, God is more powerful than the devil, which means that God has some skills that always work in our favor, some skills that we don't even know about. Remember Joseph, the Hebrew teenager who was sold by his brothers and ended up being a slave in Egypt? Right there in Joseph's stories are two weapons already. The weapon of hate that his brothers have for him, and the weapon of becoming a slave in Egypt, all in one brief moment. How does a Christian end up in such unfortunate situations? What is it that I have done that these things are happening to me? Where are you, God, when I need you most? Where is my guardian angel when I need him to deliver me? Joseph's situation only got worse. Bigger weapons came at him. His boss's wife told a huge lie on this young boy and he was sent to prison. Another weapon. While there, he helped a man to get out and asked the man to ask the king to commute his prison sentence. The man forgot. So Joseph was in prison indefinitely. Can you see the weapon being twisted and pushed even further in him? One day, out of the blue, unexpectedly, Joseph got a message inviting him in his prison cell to come up to the palace. Ha ha! One conversation with Pharaoh changed things around. Unbelievable. Joseph landed a job that was created for him. Joseph never went back to prison that day. He became vice pharaoh in Egypt. Oh, you don't understand what I'm saying. Does this even make any sense? No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And years later, God stepped out and said that these weapons were meant to kill Joseph, but God prevented the motives from succeeding. And so after a long wait, Joseph saw what God was saying. Listen to him talking to his brothers when everything was revealed. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50 and verse 20. Time to end the walk. But I want you to think about the weapons that have been fired at you lately or even today. They are meant to harm you, my friend, to destroy you, to discourage you. But you have a God over your life, and he speaks to you that there is no weapon, regardless of the strategy that Satan uses, no weapon will succeed. I say it again, it will not prosper. It is meant to harm you and harm you seriously, but you have a God who is in control, a God who defends you 24/7, a God who is more powerful than the Satan who plans against you to steal, kill, and destroy. As our walk and talk end, please know that your God is a deliverer. Hear what David says? God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Psalm 46 verse 1. I know in my spirit that you needed to hear this, my friend. I am glad we had this talk. And so I say to you, Shalom, my friend.